Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Nancy Godi Angunihu, and on sign language is Franklin Efe. First, the headlines. Vice President Kashim Shettima speaks of glorious future for Nigeria as the country marks silver jubilee of uninterrupted democracy. Flags fly at half-mast. Malawi's Vice President Solos Chilima and 9 others die in a plane crash. Plus, United Nations Security Council adopts United States drafted resolution on ceasefire plan in Gaza. Our democratic experience, despite the highs and lows, has been enduring, and we must engage the young and competent in a succession plan to ensure our glorious future. These were the words of Vice President Kashim Shettima at a public lecture in Abuja marking Nigeria's silver jubilee of uninterrupted democratic dispensation. Abdusalami Jibril reports.
Olusegun Obasanjo.
In 1999, an epoch event took place at the Eagle Square in the nation's capital, where Nigerians bid farewell to military rule in the Fourth Republic. It has been 25 years since then, with the country witnessing 5 democratically elected presidents and the handover of power to an opposition government, which, to analysts, is an uncommon feature on the African continent. The crucial role President Bola Tinubu played in the country's democratic journey formed part of Vice President Kashim Shettima's message. He notes the process has not been without challenges.
As we celebrate our past, we must also look to the future with a clear and determined vision. Today is not just a day of remembrance, it is a call to action. We must engage the young and competent, the patriotic and innovative, to join us in crafting a succession plan that secures the future we desire.
As a nation, our resolve has been challenged many times, but through shared faith and unity, we have continued to march on, and we will continue to march on.
Democracy can continue to endure only when the people think it is desirable and thus worth keeping and defending.
With the theme 25 years of enduring democracy, prospects for the future, key players and political watchers hope that the recommendations here will be adopted towards ensuring lasting democratic governance in Nigeria. In Abuja, Abdul Salam Jibril, NTA News.
And President Bola Tinubu will address the nation in a broadcast on the occasion of Democracy Day at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, June 12, 2024. All television, radio and other electronic media outlets are enjoined to plug into the network services of the Nigerian Television Authority and the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, for the broadcast. The federal government has declared Wednesday, 12th June 2024 a public holiday to commemorate this year's Democracy Day. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulates Nigerians on the occasion. Tunji-Ojo reiterates President Bola Tinubu's commitment to positive reforms to revive the nation's economy and enhance security. While wishing Nigerians a happy Democracy Day, the minister calls on Nigerians and friends of Nigeria to appreciate the progress that has been made and look forward to a better future for the nation's democracy. Now, 25 years of enduring democracy in Nigeria is worth celebrating even in the face of some perceived human rights abuses. This is the position of National Endowment for Democracy in collaboration with Policy and Legal Advocacy Center at the dialogue session on exploring remedies for human rights abuses. Timothy Yusuf reports.
It's 25 years of uninterrupted democratic rule in Nigeria. This is believed by many lovers of democracy and members of the civil society organizations community gathered here to be a pleasant development. A comparison of issues of human rights abuses during military rule and the last 25 years of democracy is the focus of this dialogue session convened by the National Endowment for Democracy in conjunction with Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, a civil society organization. Our citizens' confidence in our democracy remains, and for a lot of us who remember the brutality of military dictatorship in this country, you would never for one moment wish to see an end to civilian rule. Discussants believe that responses to accountability and discipline of human rights offenders have increased and a welcome development. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Away from Nigeria, Malawi's Vice President Saulus Chilima and 9 others have died in a plane crash. The nation's President Lazarus Chakwera confirmed this Tuesday after rescuers located the wreckage of the aircraft in a foggy forest. Comfort Fashion reports that flag has been flown at half-mast as the country declares a day of mourning following the incident.
The military plane carrying Vice President Chilema and 9 others lost contact approximately 10 minutes before its scheduled landing at Mzonzo due to bad weather and was eventually told to return to the capital, Lilongwe. The 51-year-old was reported to be on his way to represent the government at the burial of a former government minister, Ralph Kasambara, when the unfortunate incident occurred. Malawi's former First Lady, Shanil Zimbere, was also on board.
And I am deeply saddened and sorry to inform you all that it has turned out to be a terrible tragedy. The search and rescue team has found the aircraft near a hill in the Chikangawa forest, and they have found it completely destroyed with no survivors, as all passengers on board were killed on impact.
President Chakwera said Chilema was a good man, a devoted father and husband, a patriotic citizen who served his country with distinction and a formidable vice president. Chilema was first elected vice president in 2014. The charismatic yet stern-talking Chilema was a widely loved figure in Malawi, particularly among young people. But in 2022, during his second stint in the job, Chilema was stripped of his powers after being arrested and charged with grafts over bribery scandal involving a British Malawian businessman. Last month, a Malawian court dropped the charges and he resumed his official duties. Meanwhile, the Australian ambassador to Zimbabwe, Minoli Pereira, in a condolence message, described the death of Chilema as tragic while expressing condolences to the people of Malawi. Comforts Fashion, NTA News.
And joining us from Malawi to talk to us on the situation is Matthews Malata, our journalist in Lilongwe. Thanks for joining us, Matthew.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So now tell us, what is the mood in Malawi following the death of Vice President Chilima and 9 others?
Sure. It is a very difficult moment for Malawi as a country and for all Malawians, knowing that this has happened at a time when nobody expected it. And this is a tragic incident involving a vice president of a country and, of course, 8 others, including a former first lady. So at the moment, what I can confirm is that all the 9 bodies have been recovered from the wreckage and transferred to Lilongwe and to the mortuary of course, Kamuzu Central Hospital. And at the airport, the president, Dr. Lazarus Makathi Chakwera, was there to receive the bodies, including the wife to the late Dr. Saulus Chilima, was also there, party supporters. It was a very, very sad scene to see, looking at women, men, politicians shedding tears as they witnessed the bodies being taken out of the plane that delivered the bodies in Lilongwe.
Wow, very tragic incident indeed. Has the Malawian government been able to unravel the cause of the plane crash?
So at the moment, everyone, including the government officials, are concentrating on the logistics. They were busy trying to recover the bodies and then transfer them to Lilongwe as it has happened. So at the moment, what we have been told is that the weather was bad yesterday, and this is why the plane failed to land in Mzuzu, and the aborted landing followed by instructions that they needed to go back to Lilongwe. And on their way back to Lilongwe, that's when they met this tragic incident in Chikangawa forest. So all we know at the moment is that the weather was bad. Maybe that might have affected the visibility of the pilots. And we are hearing some quarters suggesting that maybe at some point the government should institute special investigations into the matter so that other technical details can be unraveled before closure.
Really, bad weather has remained a challenge to flying these days. Can you describe the man, Chilima, and the political landscape of Malawi, especially his relationship with President Lazarus Chakwera in government or in governance?
You're right. So Dr. Chilima became vice president for the first time in 2014 under the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP ticket. And then along the journey, we had elections again. There was in 2020. This time around, he had to stand on his own or contest on his own under the UTM party. He left the DPP party as a vice president, and then he formed his own political party. And after the elections, he got some really good votes, and they ended up forming an alliance government with the current president, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. They have been together up until this moment. Of course, next year, September, we'll also be having elections, and already there were some developments coming up, but he had not really declared his next move. He has gone to rest without maybe sharing with us what his vision was, whether he was still going to go under the same alliance or go solo with his UTM party. So he's been a man full of charisma. He's been a force to reckon with in Malawi, and his demise will really change the political landscape. And at the moment, it is very difficult to also imagine UTM, his party, without him. In as far as his position, which he was occupying, is concerned, the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi does really empower the president to appoint another vice president for the remainder of the time.
Finally, let me ask you, how will the death of Vice President Chilima affect the government and people of Malawi? What will he be remembered for?
We've been hearing politicians that have united because of this incident, talking lots of really good things about Dr. Salos Chilima. Unfortunately, he never had a chance to listen to some of the great things that were being said by even some people that were considered to be his opponents. Chilima was someone else who was very passionate, and he's also someone who was liked by many, especially the youthful generation. And we are hearing from so many quarters, especially that he was also championing the reforms agenda. He was assigned by the president to champion the government reforms agenda. And perhaps without him pushing that will really affect with the government's operations. We are pretty much aware also that for the past year or so, the president and the vice president were seen together on so many occasions, public events, but you need also to know that at some point he was dragged to court answering
This is actually expressing our deepest sympathy to the government and people of Malawi over this great loss. Thank you, Matthews, for coming on the news.
Thanks one more time for your time.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Now, President Tinubu expresses and extends his sincere condolences to President Lazarus Chakwera and the people of Malawi over the passing of Vice President Salus Chilima and other officials in a plane crash. In a release by Special Advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, President Tinubu commiserates with the families of the deceased over the deeply distressing incident which happened on a mournful Monday, June 10, 2024. The President assures the Malawian nation of Nigeria's support during this time of mourning and prays for the repose of the souls of the departed. This is news on NTA International. We take a break. President Bola Tinubu strongly condemns the recent spate of attacks against citizens in Dusima and Kankara local government areas of Katsina State. Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, in a statement says the President, while describing the latest attacks as grisly and sinister, emphasizes that more will be done to secure citizens and completely degrade terrorists and other harbingers of death and sorrow in any part of the country. President Tinubu directs security agencies to go after the assailants and ensure that they are brought to justice. President condoles with the families of the deceased as well as the government and people of Katsina State and prays for the repose of the souls of the departed. The United Nations Security Council adopts a United States drafted resolution on ceasefire plan in Gaza as Washington leads an intense diplomatic campaign to push Hamas to accept the proposal. Comfort Fashion reports.
For the past 7 months, both Israel and Hamas have declined to broker peace despite intervention by the international community. However, the proposal presented to the Security Council by the United States, supported by majority of council members, is expected to bring an end to the lingering crisis. Under the proposal, Israel would withdraw from Gaza population centers and Hamas would free hostages. The ceasefire would last an initial 6 weeks and extended later as negotiators seek a permanent end to hostilities.
Israel has already agreed to this deal and the fighting could stop today if Hamas would do the same. I repeat, the fighting could stop today.
Following the developments, Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday announced $404 million in new U.S. assistance for the Palestinians as he urged other countries, including U.S. critics, to also give money.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz urges allies to dig deeper in their military stocks to help Ukraine bolster its air defense against Russian attacks. Speaking to the delegates during the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Berlin, Scholz said what the Ukrainian army needs most urgently is ammunition and weapons, especially for air defense. Comfort Fashion reports again.
Ahead of a peace conference for Ukraine in Switzerland, to which Russia is not invited, parties like the Alternative for Germany, AfD, are pushing the message that the West's current strategy to arm Ukraine will not bring an end to hostilities. But German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, while speaking at a Ukraine reconstruction conference in Berlin, vowed not to let up support for Kyiv. He urged allies to rush air defense systems to Ukraine to help the country fend off Russia's missiles and said that Russian President Vladimir Putin will not be allowed to win the war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also urged allies to support more air defense systems, saying it was the answer to halt Russian advances and secure lasting peace. He added that Ukraine must not be divided, drawing parallels with the Berlin Wall while addressing the German parliament. Germany has contributed 3 Patriot air defense systems to Kyiv, while Zelensky said a total of 7 Patriots are needed for Ukraine to shield its urban centers from the storm of Russian missiles. Comforts, Fashion, NTA News.
The jury has found Hunter Biden guilty of all 3 federal gun charges that he faced. The jury announced its verdict after deliberating for about 3 hours. The U.S. president's son was accused of lying about his crack cocaine use when buying a handgun in 2018. He was found guilty of 3 charges, 2 counts of making false statements and 1 count of illegal gun possession. The jury deliberated after listening to a week of witness testimony about the 54-year-old's prior drug addiction. Hunter Biden could face up to 25 years in prison and had pleaded not guilty to the charges. The high-profile trial comes as his father runs for re-election. This is the first time a sitting president's child has been found guilty of a crime. Nigeria has a major role to play in delivering the global promise to end female genital mutilation, FGM, by 2030. Towards this end, strategic efforts must be intensified, starting with proper enforcement of Child Rights Act 2003 in the country. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu stated this at the opening ceremony of the annual technical consultation on ending FGM, jointly organized by UNFPA and UNICEF in Nigeria. State House correspondent NTAi reports.
Soulful tune, Sumba mode, all with a clear message that female genital mutilation is no longer an option.
I wish I can wear my pains like I would wear a dress. I wish I was addressed by my shame like my name. I wish like perfume.
And in a voice that carried so loud, Afsat in this rendition not only conveyed the pain and ordeals of victims, but also reminded the audience gathered in the room for the annual technical consultation on ending FGM that Nigeria bears a huge burden of the scourge globally. The goal of this technical consultation, attended by participants from 21 African countries, including Nigeria, is to reappraise ongoing efforts and share knowledge towards ending the practice by 2030. And this, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu says, must start with strengthening legal frameworks and intensifying advocacy.
I charge us to collaborate with the First Ladies of the various states in Nigeria and other stakeholders to critically address this harmful practice. This collaboration will help mobilize resources, share best practices, and create a sustainable movement against gender-based violence and female genital mutilation.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima, represented, says all stakeholders must work to ensure that the girl child is not denied the protection provided for her by the Nigerian Constitution.
We must establish more centers that offer medical care, psychological support, and legal assistance to survivors of FGM.
We recognize that success requires coordinated support, commitment of our valuable partners at the global, regional, and national level.
With about 230 million women and girls already under the crude knife of FGM across the globe, the United Nations is keen about providing support for victims.
It's a collective responsibility, and that unites us across continents and cultures. Together, we can create a world where FGM is eliminated. Gender equality prevails.
In the next 3 days, these experts hope to come up with new propositions that will help the world, particularly Africa, find a balance between culture and reality where it concerns women and their sexual health. In Abuja, NTAi, NTA News.
And next is Wednesday's weather forecast. And that's it on the news on NTA International. Thanks for being a part of it. Our sign language personality has been Franklin Efe, and I'm Nancy Godiangunehu. Bye for now.